Good evening, boys. During our last discussion, we started with our new topic, body fluids and circulation. We discussed about the need of body fluids in our system, functions of circulatory system, basic characteristics of human blood. Then we talked about the composition of blood, which we discussed under two headings: plasma, that we completed thoroughly last time, about the composition of plasma and the functions of plasma. Today our topic that would be totally new for us to begin right in this lesson is corpuscles, which form around 40 to 45% of the total blood volume. Along with my previous things, I also, just let me remind you, I'd introduced some 26 terms in writing, and they are technically, most of them, all new for you children. So please master them out by continuously revising. They're all very important, especially the ticked ones with conditions, right? Over here also, these terms after 24, 25 and 26, they are given at the top, right? And some basic abbreviations. So today, as I said, we are going to start with the blood corpuscles, that is the blood cells. We are going to talk under table like this, a comparative table. If you can see, the first column is about RBCs or erythrocytes. Second is about the WBC or the leukocytes. And the third is about the platelets or thrombocytes. The good thing is that yes, a portion of this you'll find familiar with your syllabus in class 10th. Alright, so let us begin, children. The blood corpuscles, what are these blood corpuscles first? They are the cellular elements of the blood which are found suspended in plasma. Percentage wise, they are around 40 to 45% of the total blood volume, as I had already told you last time. Now, to move further, they are basically of three types: RBCs, WBCs and platelets. So let's begin first with the RBCs. We'll complete one and then come to the other and compare. RBCs, the red blood corpuscles or erythrocytes, by number they are the most numerous of all formed elements in the blood, and they contain a pigment which is called hemoglobin. All of us know that this is red colored and it carries oxygen. Right? So let us see the number of RBCs in adult male and female. Right? Male with this circle and arrow, right? We know the sign. So how much it is? 5 to 5.5 million per ml. And this ml means microliter or cubic millimeter. Millimeter. Right? So in healthy female, if we talk about the number, this is slightly less, right? And this is 4 to 4.5 million per ml, that is microliter. Then the number of erythrocytes, last time I had introduced you, let's quickly revise. The number of RBCs is calculated by a device called hemocytometer, right, that we did last time. Then breakdown of old and worn out RBCs, they called hemolysis. Lysis means to break up. Then, because we're talking RBCs, we'll only discuss RBCs just now. Polycythemia is a condition of abnormal rise in RBC count. At the same time, we have a term called erythrocytopenia, which is a decrease in number of RBC count which causes oxygen shortage and thus activates kidneys to secrete a hormone called erythropoietin, which increases RBC production. Right? So we have to revise this, and now let's come further to the next part of RBC, shape. The shape of RBC, we all know, children, it's biconcave or a disc-like. You can imagine it's like a hollow ball which has been flattened at the opposite ends with our palm. So this is something like the RBCs they look like, right? Then where are these formed? These are formed in the red bone marrow of the bones, right? And then where are they destroyed? The destruction is called as hemolysis for the RBCs, and the place where they are destroyed is spleen, liver and bone marrow, right? Now when it is destroyed, children, the iron is released during the breakdown of hemoglobin, which is retained by the body. The body cannot lose iron, right? Fe, hemoglobin, when we'll come to it, the iron part of hemoglobin is retained and it is reused in the bone marrow in hemoglobin formation, right? And the breakdown of protein part, which later forms biliverdin, is transported to the liver. All right, so here it's changed to bilirubin, that you know it already, and the yellow color of plasma is due to bilirubin. So let's move further now. Now, there's certain very special things about RBCs, student. First, size is 7 to 8 μm in diameter, right? They're highly specialized. Why are they so small? Because they are very specialized cells for oxygen transport. Not only that, another very unique feature is that they do not have a nucleus, right? Mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, and Golgi complex. Now, why they do not have this? Why is it that such important organelles are missing? The answer is to make space for maximum amount of hemoglobin for oxygen transport. In other words, to make them very, very efficient in oxygen transport, right? Coming to lifespan, which is around 120 days or 4 months, that we had just missed, right? And now certain unique characteristics about RBCs, which are, some of them are new, like this one is Rolex formation. What does this term mean? Rolex formation means that RBCs, they stick to each other. Why do they stick? Because of their great surface tension. They adhere it together by the concave surfaces and they form piles or stacks of coins, right? Something like that. Something that looks like piles or stacks of coins, and this is called as Rolex formation. All right. Another very unique feature, I already told you, no nucleus, mitochondria, no ER, and no Golgi complex. Then about hemoglobin, if we talk about in RBCs, what is hemoglobin? It is the respiratory pigment, right? And where it is found? It is found in the cytoplasm of each RBC, which contains around 270 million molecules of hemoglobin. This hemoglobin has two parts, that is heme and globin. Heme is actually an iron containing compound. Which iron? In 2+ state, that is 2 valency, 2+. It is called as porphyrix. This is like, you can say, 2+ iron in porphyrin complex with ring structure. This is similar to chlorophyll. And this heme is conjugated or attached to protein called as globin. How many protein molecules, children? It is 4 molecules of the globin that it's attached to, that you can imagine that 1 molecule of heme is conjugated or attached to 4 molecules of protein. So I hope you are understanding from RBC. Most of the things, as I told you, is revision for you. But yes, Rolex formation is new, and the other things about hemoglobin, etc., please try to learn it thoroughly. Then coming to the compounds of oxygen with hemoglobin. Oxygen combines with hemoglobin, right? Because we know that RBCs, they are going to carry oxygen. So what does it form the compound as? It is forming a compound which is temporary compound, that is, it can break up, and it's called as oxyhemoglobin. So it travels in the blood to all places where it breaks down, releasing oxygen, and this is how it delivers oxygen to the cells, right? Then globin protein of the hemoglobin also combines with small amount of carbon dioxide and it brings to the lungs from the tissues, right? So that completes about the RBCs. Let's talk about the functions. Most important function, every time in 10th also you are still learning that it is transport of oxygen. In what form? Just now you have seen here that it's oxyhemoglobin. Then not only that, children, it also transports carbon dioxide back to the lungs to be eliminated in the form of carbaminohemoglobin. Alright, and lastly, it maintains the pH of the blood. Last time I talked about the pH, if you remember, that was 7.3 to 7.5. That completes the RBCs, children. Now we move further to the second part of our composition in formed elements, that is the blood corpuscles, WBCs. To begin with, let's first talk about their shape and number. Alright, white blood cells, they're called white because they're colorless. Then they're different from the WBCs because here, most importantly, nucleus is present. If here it was absent, you just now saw it, here it is present in WBCs. Right. Then shape, it is around irregular, you can see here, rounded or irregular shape, and we also call it as amoeboid cells. Why? Because like an amoeba, they can change their shapes, right? Number 6,000 to 9,000 per ml of blood. Then this number which is present per ml of blood is also called as TLC, total leukocyte count. You must have seen this in some blood report of a patient, or sometime if you have got it done for yourself. What is TLC count? Total leukocyte count. So what are WBCs, children? They are the mobile force or the body's defense cells, right, for immunity, that is preventing the infection. Then size, if you see, children, if RBCs were 7 to 8 μm in diameter, then here they are larger than RBCs because they are around 12 to 20 μm and they are larger than RBCs. Alright, then they have nucleus, just now I told you. They also have mitochondria, ER, Golgi complex, etc. Right? But what is unique here is that they perform a movement called amoeboid movement, and then they can squeeze through the blood vessels to perform diapedesis. You've studied this in class 10, children, and that is just to come in contact with the germ to eat it or to drink it away. Then coming next to the new topics here, that where is it formed? It is formed in the bone marrow, lymph glands, spleen and thymus. And where it is destroyed, children? It is destroyed in the liver, spleen and the lymph nodes by the process of phagocytosis. Alright. Then coming to type of WBCs. Right, the type of WBCs here. No, one point I've missed out here, lifespan. Yes, lifespan here is much less than RBCs, children. If here it was around 120 days or 4 months, then here it is only 12 hours to 12 days, right? And only 3 days in case of neutrophils. So let us know what is neutrophil. Basically, there are different types of leukocytes, children, or WBCs, and there are two types in general: granulocytes and agranulocytes. Granulocytes, as the name tells, it's containing granule, and not only that, it has got a multi-lobed irregular nucleus, or we also call it as polymorphic. Polymorphic means there are many forms of nucleus lobe, that is more than one lobe, so multi-lobed it is. And for the very reason, these granulocytes, they are also called as polymorphs. Alright, under this we have three types further: acidophils or eosinophils, second basophils, and third neutrophils. On the other hand, those leukocytes which do not have granules, they are called as agranulocytes. A means without granules, and under this comes lymphocytes and monocytes. So let us begin one by one. First is acidophils or eosinophils. Why are they called so? Because they get stained by acidic dyes such as eosin, right? And this is for the very reason why we also call them as eosinophils. Percentage, it's 2 to 3% of total leukocytes. Nucleus is two-lobed, alright? And the function is that they have antihistaminic activity. That is, their number increases in a person suffering from allergy, right? They promote tissue inflammation during allergy or asthma or parasitic infection. Coming to basophil, that is here, if you can see, percentage wise, this is 0.5 to 1%. And why is it called basophil? Because it is stained with a basic dye or a basic stain like methylene blue. Alright, now here the nucleus is elongated, S-shaped, and 2 to 3 lobes that are there. Alright, the substance what is present here in basophil as an anticoagulant, you must have heard, children, histamine, that prevents the blood from clotting, right? So histamine is anticoagulant, prevents blood clotting, and it's also inflammatory agent in the blood. Coming to the third type, that is neutrophils. Why is it called neutrophils, children? First thing is, let's talk about the percentage. These are the most numerous. Look at their number. Acidophils was 2 to 3%, here 0.5 to 1, but neutrophils, they are the most high in numbers, around 70%. And they are unique because they get stained with both acidic as well as basic dyes. These got stained with acidic dyes, we call them acidophils. These got stained with basic dyes, we call them basophils. Neutrophils we call because they stain with both, that is acidic as well as basic dyes, and they are highly polymorphic. Out of all these three, they are the most number of lobes here, that is around 3 to 5 lobes. What were the number of lobes here? 2 lobes, 2 to 3, but here is 3 to 5, that is maximum polymorphic, and granules are fine and inconspicuous. Function of neutrophils is phagocytosis, that means to engulf the microbes and remove the cell debris by the scavenger mode. Alright, they squeeze through the capillary wall at the site of injury by diapedesis. I hope this is clear, children. Now we come to the agranulocytes, and we'll discuss with the two types, lymphocytes as well as monocytes. Lymphocytes, they are 20 to 25% of the total WBCs. Alright, the cells are rounded, there's a large rounded nucleus and very little cytoplasm. They are of two types, B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. Why we call them B lymphocytes? Because they're produced in bone marrow. So B for bone marrow. And T lymphocytes because they are produced in a gland called thymus. Alright, so they are thymus derived. We also call them as thymus derived. Then they produce antibodies. You have always heard of antibodies that are produced in response to an antigen or a foreign substance, and they provide immunity against the infection. Coming to monocytes, children, here, these are the largest of all types of WBCs, and percentage wise there are 3 to 7% overall. They engulf the bacteria, right, and the worn out tissue cells, and they come out of the capillary and change into macrophages. Macro means very big and phage means to eat up, and for the very reason they are also called as wandering cells, right? Functions of WBCs. Now we have discussed WBCs in detail, so let's talk about the functions of WBCs. First function, which is very common, is diapedesis, that is to squeeze out of the capillary walls and eat away the germs. Then pus formation. Last time I told you what is pus, children. I had introduced here. Pus is a composition that contains dead WBCs, destroyed tissue cells, dead and living microbes, and the exuded plasma. Right. The other function of WBC is scavenging. That is, at the site of infection, neutrophils and monocytes, they engulf the bacteria. That is, these neutrophils and the monocytes, they will engulf the germs, right, or the agents that may make us sick. Coming to phagocytosis, again it's the function of neutrophils and the monocytes, so that causes the engulfment of the germs. Inflammation, you must have always heard of inflammation, or a reaction in which the part of the body gets swollen up or the affected site. So who causes inflammation? Again, neutrophils and the macrophages, right? Macrophages means here the monocytes, they act as macrophages when they come out, and they are called wandering cells of the blood. WBCs are also responsible for the formation of antibodies, and they provide immunity. Coming to our third and the last type of blood cells, right, we'll talk about, yes, one more point before we come. Here they do not have any hemoglobin. WBCs followed by platelets. Platelets or thrombocytes, they are small, as you can see, I have written here, roughly rounded or spherical, right, in shape. Then they are colorless, disc-like, and the number, if you talk, it is around 2 to 3 lakh per ml of blood. This is a normal standard number. All right. Then decrease in number of platelet. Last time I introduced you the term here. Look at the ticked ones. Decrease in platelet number. It's called as thrombocytopenia. whereas abnormal increase is called as thrombocytosis. Alright, then here if we talk of lifespan, it is 3 to 7 days only, right? Then they are formed in red bone marrow, that is they are formed by the megakaryocytes and destroyed in spleen by phagocytosis. They are enucleated, right? And functions, they help in blood clotting, right? Also children, I had introduced a term last time, let me remind you here, serotonin. Damaged platelets release a substance called serotonin. This causes contraction of blood vessels at the site of injury and reduces the blood loss, right? So this is all about the 3 types of cells just now. And here, if you comparatively see here children, you should be able to understand every bit of this. I have tried to accumulate everything on this double sheet of comparative view, right? Now let us come to our next topic, what we call as blood group and blood transfusion. This is also a portion of this you should be able to take up children. First is blood group. The blood group in humans was discovered by a scientist called Karl Landsteiner in the year 1990, right? He discovered that human beings have 2 parts on the, let's say first is glycoprotein, that is called as antigen or agglutinogens, and these are present on the surface of RBCs. The second part is gamma globulin protein, right? And this is present in the blood plasma. That is, look at this diagram children. Look at this diagram. On the surface of RBC is present this portion, antigen. You can see antigens or agglutinogens present on the surface of RBC. Whereas this portion, that is antibodies or the agglutinins, they are present here in the plasma. So this should be very clear children. Antigen present on RBCs and antibodies present on the in the plasma, the fluid. Alright. Now basically there are 2 types of antigens, antigen A and antigen B. Similarly here there are 2 types of antibodies, antibody A and antibody B. Alright, so make sure antigen you have to write with a capital alphabet A and B, and antibody you have to write with a small alphabet A and B. Alright, now we have 4 types of blood groups. Human blood groups we have studied in class 10th. What are those blood groups? Blood group A, B, AB and O. Alright, so here on the surface of RBC, just now I told you there are only 2 types of antigen. If antigen A is present only, right, then the blood group is A. Similarly, at some time if RBC contains the other type, antigen B, then this blood group of the person would be blood group B. Sometimes what happens, there are RBCs in the blood group where both the antigens are present, A as well as B, so the blood group is called as AB. And sometimes there are blood groups which have no antigens, so or 0 antigens. So earlier it was called as 0, but now for the sake of uniformity we call it as ABO blood group system. So this is actually 0 or O blood group. We rightly call it O. Why? Because it has 0 antigens, neither A nor B. Right? So we have 4 blood groups, A, B, AB and O. Alright. So if we talk of the people with lucky blood group or the most convenient blood group for transfusion, these are universal recipients AB. Right? Why are they called universal recipients, children? Because in times of emergency or transfusion, who can donate blood to AB? A can give, B can give, AB can give its own self and also O. So this is what we say, they are the people with luckiest blood group, that they will receive blood from all possible blood groups. Whereas the other one, that is called as the social service worker, it's like the social worker, that is O blood group, called as universal donor, because it can give to everyone. See, if I show you by diagrams, O can give to A, O can give to B, O can give to AB and O can only give to O. So in times of emergency or transfusion, who can donate blood to O? It's only O. right? So who can give it to, suppose blood group A wants blood transfusion, so who can give to A? Its own A and O. Who can give to B? O and B. Who can give to AB? All blood groups can give, because it's a universal recipient or receiving blood group. And O, as you know, only O can donate to O. So therefore, it is donor because it can give to everybody, but while receiving, it can only receive from O. Then, coming to a term, what we call as clumping reaction or agglutination. What is a clumping reaction? See, we have to understand, children, that antigen A does not get along with antibody A, right? They're incompatible. That means antigen A can get along with antibody B only, not A. So sometimes if we can say antigen A and antibody A, they are incompatible. See, I have written here, incompatible. Similarly, antigen B, which is present in blood group B, is incompatible with blood group A. That means during transfusion, children, blood group A can only be given to A, because if we mix B with A, the antigen antibody reaction takes place, right? Similarly, B cannot be given to A or A cannot be given to B. When blood comes from different blood groups and this is mixed, clumping occurs due to antigen antibody interaction, and this is called as clumping reaction or agglutination, right? So this is like a serious condition which we call as the agglutination. So if we talk about a case like this, let's see how it becomes serious in a second transfusion. Suppose before we come to this, let's also talk about RH factor. You must have heard in class 10th you have got rhesus. The short form of RH, the complete term we call as rhesus, or else it's a term for ape-like ancestor, right? So in addition to A and B antigens, human RBCs also possess RH antigen. Sometimes people that have RH antigen, we call them RH positive, and those who do not have, we call them as RH negative. 85% of human population are RH positive. Alright, and this RH blood group system, it was given by Landsteiner. This is same person, Karl Landsteiner, along with another person called as Wiener. This was in around 1940 that they worked. Then let's talk about the conditions of blood transfusion. In the first case, let's see here. Suppose RH positive blood is given to RH negative recipient. Alright, in this case, what can happen? When RH positive, that means this antigen is present in the donor's blood, is given to a RH negative who does not have this antigen, then this body of the recipient will develop an immunogenic response and anti-RH antibodies will develop. Alright, so in this case, what will happen is that first transfusion, it will be alright. But if second transfusion, suppose first transfusion has been done, it will just sensitize the person by this immunogenic response. But second transfusion, again with RH positive blood, will cause the clumping of donor's blood in this case, and this may become very, very dangerous. Alright, so this can also cause the death of the person. Next time, we'll talk further with the new topic under the RH incompatibility during pregnancy. So I hope you have understood, children, that how the blood group of a particular type only should be given to a person and why, otherwise what can happen. So I'm sending you the notes of these. Please write down in your copies, children, and try to go through the text pages. Same, let me show you what all things have I taught you today. From here we started. Try to read it in the textbook, children. We've started from here. The RBCs. You can see here the blood corpuscles. We started from here, covered this part, alright. Then here, the types of WBCs, continued over here with diapedesis, the thrombocytes, right. And this I'll be taking next time, children, about coagulation, the mechanism of clotting. But today we have started with blood group and transfusion, and this table you should be able to understand. Next time we'll complete the blood group and talk about blood clotting. We'll talk about this. So sending you the notes, children. Please compile up all the notes together. Any problems, please feel free to ask, children. You can message me or write your questions and send. I'll be definitely answer to the best of my capacity. All right. Thank you.